love. Welcome to my Money Reclamation Series. My name is Archield, and in this series, we're going to be healing your relationship between wealth and power. Because let's face it, if all we need to do was manifest, we'd all be billionaires by now. Today, we're talking about why your relationship with money is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. So, take a breath, grab some tea, and let's reclaim. One of the things you have to realize is you were literally set up to fail. And it's not your fault. There's so many things working against us to really understand the connection between wealth and money and our relationship with it. One of those things is cultural conditioning, especially us as women or people of majority minority groups. We were just literally set up to fail because there was no desire for us to succeed. There really weren't models for us to look at to succeed. I am always astonished to find out things that my ancestors did millennia ago, where they were highly successful, thriving communities, thriving nation states, when others who now think themselves may be superior with money and wealth and power were running around with a bunch of sticks. So remember, a lot of times you just haven't been taught your own history. And that is on purpose. The fact that there is erasure of all the accomplishments of majority, minority peoples throughout the world, of women throughout the world, is not by accident. It is in an effort to keep us ignorant on past accomplishments so that we know that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. It is within us, but it has been culturally conditioned out of us. Stand tall. There is a long history of you doing well. If you want to point to something very specific, especially for women, it was our limited access to money, especially in the US and many Western cultures until recently. In the US, it wasn't until about the time I was born that women had access to money, in that they had their own bank accounts without asking for a relative, a male relative, to be on that account with them. That they could have their own credit cards without having a male relative open the account or own the house with them. Women were definitely pushed to the side. Let's say you did do well as someone who is Hispanic or Black or one of the other majority minority peoples in the world. Even if you did well within your own community, someone was always ready to come around and take it away from you. One of those examples of this happening is the Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in June of 1921, they were just massacred. All these well-to-do Black people in their own community, not trying to influence anybody else, not even mixing with anyone else because, that couldn't happen. All their wealth was taken from them, all their properties destroyed. Why? Jealousy, because you couldn't have someone who is majority minority people doing better. So no, those lessons get taught and they get imbued in our DNA. And so there's this unhealthy fear around what money might bring to you, what issues it might bring to you. Right? Have you heard new level, new devil? Well, yeah, that definitely got passed around because if you got too well to do, you were seen as a threat. Now, That shouldn't be happening now here in 2025 to date this video, but it still does. But there's more countermeasures to it now, where there were no countermeasures to it then in 1921. A lot has happened over the last 100 years, but not enough. We've got to arm ourselves to be better with money. And when I say better with money, I don't mean to say that we're bad with money. That's one of the lies that I've been told, that the reason minority people don't have a lot of money, a lot of wealth as a group is because we're bad with money. I've heard so many times, specifically, oh, you're a woman, you're bad with money, you can't make good financial decisions. It's just a lie. It's just a lie that we've been taught in our culture. It is far from the truth. As a whole, now that they're starting to do studies about it, women are much better with money, managing money, making money stretch. So don't allow those lies to seep in and become truth in your mind. Another issue that we have is religious programming. Ooh, I'm sure you've heard this one. Money is the root of all evil. So if you've heard that your whole life, why would you want to be intimate with money? Why would you even want money around you? Because you don't want to be seen as evil. You don't want to be seen as less pious, right? To be pious, to be humble is to be poor, right? To be spiritual is to be poor. You have to give up everything in order to be spiritual. That isn't just Judeo-Christian programming. That is filtered throughout many different faiths around the world. This simply isn't true. And for that initial Judeo-Christian scripture I brought up, the whole scripture, the love of money is the root of all evil. When you put money above people, when you put money above your friends, your family, your community, it can turn someone evil. Have you seen any examples of that in our society? There are people who are extraordinarily wealthy, who love their neighbors, who want to do what's best, not just for themselves, their friends, their family, but their community as a whole, for the earth as a whole. It is incumbent upon us to be wealthy because we will do the right thing with wealth. We aren't here to be extractive. We are here to circulate. We are here to make sure that the earth is a better place for our friends, our families, our communities, and our children and their children down throughout the generations. We are good stewards of money. One of my relatives, who has since passed, unfortunately, way too young, had this saying that I always thought was odd when I was a child-ish. They're only about 10, 15 years older than me, but still, it was a saying that I just really didn't understand till I was much older. He would say, "Are you mad at money?" And like when you would do something where you'd be like, "No, I don't want that," or you were kind of lacking ambition, he would tell that person, "Are you mad at money?" Right? When you're consistently pushing away money or pushing away the opportunities to increase your status, increase your wealth, are you mad at money? And I want to say to you that same question. Are you mad at money? And then if you are mad at money, what is that reason? Why are you so angry with money? Why do you consistently push it away? Maybe knowledge on how to use money, opportunities that are presented to you, help that is presented to you. Why do you push away money? I know for me, for a long time, I didn't want to appear greedy. I wanted to make sure that I did everything I could to earn as little as possible, but to subsist. Poor, pious, money, evil. Right? Do you see how that conditioning starts to come back? So I was in an industry where people were earning extraordinary amounts of money, but I made sure that I earned very little because I wanted to do the right thing. It is important to do the right thing for others, but if you're no longer around, if you can't subsist, if you can't feed your family, how are you doing the right thing? Are you mad at money? And that's what I realized. For a very long time, I've been mad at money. Mad at what it could turn me into, mad at what happened when people of my skin color had it in the past. I was mad at money. And so I had to work on that relationship. And over the series, we are going to be working with your relationship with money, wealth, with power. You don't need to be mad at money. Another one of those dynamics is just within your family. I talked about some of those things that happened in the past and how that gets passed down through generations because we want to keep our children safe. Our parents want to keep us safe. So they're going to bring us those lessons that their family members learn, that their fathers and mothers and grandparents learn. And so we get shown these things within our homes. And then if you had come from a low socioeconomic group, right? If you were poor, middle class, even lower upper class, there's always the scarcity baked in, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. I don't know if you've heard that one. I remember growing up and telling them, but it does. Money is made of paper. That just didn't go over well with my family. But you heard that, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. No, we can't afford that. How many times did you hear that growing up? How many times have you said that to your children? That bakes in scarcity into them now, not just coming in through their ancestral DNA, but right now you're baking it into their psyche. You're helping them create a program that's running in the background of their minds around scarcity because you can't afford it. You could say, no, I'm not saying that wasn't true, that you didn't have enough money for whatever it was. But start thinking of other ways or other things you can do with your children. Maybe talking to them about the amount of money in your home, having healthy conversations around money instead of immediate, we can't afford that. I don't want to talk about that. We don't have enough money for that. Or the opposite, just splurging when you really don't have it to splurge with. I've done that many times before because I want to give my children a better life than I had, even when I didn't have the money for it, which leads to other problems, right? So by bringing your children into that conversation around money, that it's healthy to talk about money, because there's so many times there are homes where the adults not only don't talk about money with their children, they don't talk about money to each other. Have you ever been around people who supposedly are together and they don't talk about money. They don't know how much money the other person has. And I'm not saying, God help me, I'm not saying as a woman you shouldn't have a get the heck out of here fund. But for the most part, not only should you be talking to your significant other about money and being honest, they should be as honest with you. And to me, what I know, what I've seen, and what has been researched, the downfall of most relationships is around money because there's no communication. Zero. So think about how that transmits down to any children around you. There's this thing that we tiptoe around and we don't talk about, and it's called money. Now, complicating this more is generational poverty, and some of these dynamics do have to do with generational poverty. But one of those main dynamics is home ownership, right? Home ownership. Because that's how most people actually have passed down wealth in the past. They owned a home, they owned land, what have you, right? And they passed down that wealth through that home or land ownership. So when we went from mostly being farmers to actually being city dwellers, and your minority peoples were trying to buy homes, their neighborhoods were deemed or was called redlined. Banks just wouldn't loan in those neighborhoods. They just wouldn't do it. What tended to happen in the past, because they knew banks were going to loan to them, no matter how good of a deal it was, no matter how nice their home was, no matter how nice the neighborhood was, before different regulations came into play, there were banks that were just owned by those different minority groups that would loan money in those neighborhoods. Those people who are well-to-do would then loan out money and make those banking relationships and those loans throughout the neighborhood so that people could own their home. Then some regulations start to take place and redlining became illegal. I'm not saying it doesn't still happen, but what I'm saying is it is illegal. And I think this is really apparent with the gentrification of so many neighborhoods that were deemed too much of a risk not that long ago. So really think about when you're trying to, and I know right now it is difficult for so many people to buy a home. Even if your parents can come through and help you with down payment, etc., it is difficult. But whatever you can do to look at how you're going to pass down wealth to the next generation, how you're going to make sure that your kids go to college, if that's what's on the cards for them, to go to college, that they go to college without an extraordinary amount of debt. That's what you need to do. But what does that mean? That means you got to get your relationship right with wealth and power. You got to get your relationship right with money. The reason this is so important, it's yes, to break these cycles of generational poverty, but when you do, when you get that flush of cash, as some people have, you notice what happens to lottery winners or people who play some kind of sports ball, but they came from a low-income family, and they all of a sudden get a lot of money. They all of a sudden don't have any money. Like lottery winners, typically within 5 years, are like deep in debt, right? Those that came from a low-income family playing whatever kind of sports ball are like riddled with debt. And even when their career is over and they should be set, they have almost nothing, or they have to start selling off stuff. That's where this broken playbook I started out with comes from, right? They were literally given a broken playbook to play with. They have no idea how to manage money. And it's not because they're, again, bad with money, but that amount of money they've never had before. It's not in their ancestral DNA. It's not even in recent memory for them. And then you have vultures all around you, right? When you start accessing that amount of wealth, ready to take their part. We're going to blow open all that stuff. We're going to make sure that no one's in the dark about all the machinations of money and wealth and power, because I'm tired of, however we get that leg up, to then be cut off at the waist. It's not going to happen to us anymore. Not when you're watching this series. But it's not your fault. You don't know what you don't know, because, girl, like I said, you're literally handed a broken playbook. Very much so, on purpose. The setup was in the setup. You're absolutely designed. The whole thing designed for you to fail. So let this be the information that you need to succeed beyond your wildest imagination. Let the haters hate, so you can go out and do those good things with money. So you can wield your power and wealth in ways that are absolutely wondrous. We can't change this system, this broken ass system, overnight. We just can't. And quite honestly, we've got to work within the system to make it work for us. And so what we need to realize is that money in and of itself, it's energy. It's a tool that we can use. And we, again, like I said, we've just got to wield this tool in the right way. So reclaim your power. Reclaim your ability. Reclaim your sovereignty so that you can remake the world in a way that you want it to be. So that means breaking down these systems, right, from the inside out. Rewriting these crazy playbooks, these crazy broken playbooks that we've been given, so that we can move forward in a way that works for all of us. Because there is a way. There's more than enough money for everybody. This is about deciding on a different type of spiritual practice, right? And in this spiritual practice, we're going to move from victimhood to sovereignty. And that's how we're going to move forward in the world. Because all of this is very much a spiritual thing. Don't let anyone tell you that money isn't spiritual. It definitely is. I don't want you to feel ashamed of your money story, right? Of how you've handled money in the past, or the things that you have believed about money. Shame really does us no good. In fact, when we feel ashamed, we literally contract. In order to change things, we have to be open. We need to be open to change. We need to be open to possibility. We need to be open to seeing how we can change our own story. So use this video, this series, as a permission slip to take a look at your money story, to revisit things that you believed before, and to critically analyze them. Are they true? Were they true before, but they're not really true now? They're not true for you now. Your relationship with money is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. You get to rewrite it. One of the ways you can get started, because like I said, this is not an overnight thing. It's not overnight for any of us. It's likely a journey throughout time, right? So one of those ways you can get started is by downloading Lead Without Shrinking. You can grab that link in the description, in the pinned comment, and it's really designed for you to start leading yourself. And when you're leading yourself, it becomes much easier to move forward to having a better relationship with wealth and power, thus with money. And if you feel like, Africa, I want to go deeper, I'm here for you. You can check out the other links in the description. You should see something in there for a cosmic conversation if you want to have a conversation with me. If you want to go deeper than that and really start digging out some of this programming that you have around money, you should book a Soulful Reset. What I want to know is what landed hardest for you today. Woo! I have been all over the place, but I want to know what gave you like this whoa feeling, or I hadn't thought of that before. I'd love to know about it down in the comments. Now, this next episode coming up, you're gonna want to be there for it. So make sure you like this video, of course, subscribe, and ring that bell notification, because the next video coming up, it's gonna crack you wide open, but it's gonna be so good for you. Until we see each other in episode 2, peace, joy, love to you.